Hello, this is Shay Jackson with Hype Math. In today's video, we will be reviewing questions from our 2019 STAAR Math Test Prep Workbook for 8th graders. The section is Real Number System, Rational and Irrational Numbers, Comparing and Ordering Real Numbers, Estimating, Calculating Square Roots. To follow along, you can purchase the workbook on Amazon. The link for that purchase for the workbook will be in the description box. Remember, 8th graders, you have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. Great quote by Dr. Seuss. Let's get started. Question number 1 says, which Venn diagram correctly represents the relationship between rational numbers and irrational numbers? For answer choice A, we have two separate circles for rational numbers and irrational numbers. B, there's an overlap between rational numbers and irrational numbers. C, answer choice says that within irrational numbers, there are rational numbers. And D says within rational numbers, there are irrational numbers. The first question we must ask ourselves is, what are we looking for? Very important first question you need to ask in order to make sure you answer the problem correctly. We are looking for the Venn diagram that correctly represents the relationship between rational numbers and irrational numbers. Now we need to know what information can help us find the answer. In order to help us find the answer, we must understand what a Venn diagram is. A Venn diagram is used to identify differences and similarities between two or more sets. If the sets have similarities, the sets overlap in the middle and list those similarities, and the outer circles list their differences. So how do we solve this problem? Well, in order to solve it, what we need to understand is the difference or similarities between rational numbers and irrational numbers. So here is a picture of our real number system. We see rational numbers, and within the rational numbers, there are integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers. But if you notice on the side, irrational numbers are separate. It says irrational numbers, for irrational numbers, it's a set of numbers that cannot be written as a fraction or ratio. The numbers can go on forever. Based on this information, can we decide or can we choose what the correct answer choice is? So let's look at our answer choices again. For answer choice A, we have rational numbers and irrational numbers totally separated in two different circles. For B, we have rational numbers and irrational numbers overlapping. For C, we said that for the set of irrational number, there contains rational numbers as well. And for answer choice D, in the set of rational numbers, there contains irrational numbers as well. Can you choose what the correct answer choice is based on all of our information? If you said A is the correct answer, you are right, because based on our picture, and here it is, Rational numbers and irrational numbers are two different sets. There's nothing that's similar. They only have differences. If you choose A, great job. Let's move to question number 2. Question number 2 says, which list shows these numbers in order from least to greatest? We have a fraction, 37 over 6, negative 5.17, the square root of 33, and another fraction, negative 26 over 5. For answer choice A, we're saying that the list from least to greatest is negative 26 over 5, negative 5.17, 37 over 6, the square root of 33. G, we have negative 5.17, negative 26 over 5, 37 over 6, the square root of 33. H, we're saying from least to greatest, it's negative 26 over 5, negative 5.17, the square root of 33, 37 over 6. And lastly, for J, negative 5.17, negative 26 over 5, the square root of 33, 37 over 6. What are we looking for? We are looking for the list of numbers that show the order from least to greatest. What information can help us find the answer? For us to solve this problem, what we first need to do is convert all of the numbers to a decimal. And at the bottom you see that we have, and what you can do is use your calculator in order to convert from a fraction to a decimal. We have 37 over 6 is equal to 6.17. Negative 5.17 is equal to negative 5.17. There was no conversion needed. For the square root of 33, it's 5.74. And negative 26 over 5 is equal to negative 5.2. Let's take a look at how we got those answers. So for 37 over 6, we divided in our calculator, we put 37 divided by 6, and it's 6 point, and it continues on with some sixes. So we are rounding to the nearest hundredth. That is how our answer is 6.17. For the square root of 33, it's 5.174. How do we get that? When we plugged it into our calculator, the square root of 33, the answer when we round to the hundredths place is 5.74. Of course, we don't have to worry about negative 5.17 because it's already a decimal. And for negative 26 over 5, that is equal to negative 5.2. So again, this is how we came up with, once we converted the fractions and the square root to a decimal, this is how we came up with these decimal values. Our next question is how to solve the problem. In order for us to solve the problem, we need to order the numbers from least to greatest. So looking at our values, can you order them from least to greatest? What is our correct answer? If you said H, you are correct. So let's take a look. If we're ordering from least to greatest, we have negative 5.2 is our smallest number. Remember, when you are dealing with negative numbers, The larger the negative number, the smaller it actually is. That is why negative 5.17 is next, because it's greater than negative 5.2. Next is the square root of 33, which is 5.74. And lastly, we have 37 over 6, because its decimal place value is 6.17. So our correct answer is H. Let's move to question number 3. Point Q is shown on the number line. And in looking at the number line, we see that we have 5, 6, and 7 as our numbers, and then we have a hash mark in between 5 and 6. So that's the halfway point. That's like 5.5. And between 6 and 7, the hash mark in between there, that's 6.5, okay? So we see where Q is, the point Q, and what we are looking for is the best value that is represented by point Q. A is square root of 5.4, B is the square root of 29.5, C is square root 35.5, D is square root 5.9. Of course, I've already answered the question, but let's say it again because it's an important question. Before we solve a problem, we must know what we are looking for. And we are looking for the value that is best represented by point Q. What information can help us find the answer? Now, I want to show you something before we continue on, because we could actually cross some answers out. If you notice, A and D is kind of like a trick answer, because again, we said that 5, 6, and 7, that hash mark in between 5 and 6 is really representing 5.5. So if you notice that A and D is kind of like, yeah, this is the answer with the square root, but those are actually wrong, okay? Square root of 5.4, well, if we're doing the square root, we know that it couldn't be that answer, and also D. So when you're taking tests, a great testing strategy is to look and see if there may be some trick answers, and even look at it, because if you look at A, B, C, and D, those numbers, B and C are kind of close, but A and D are nowhere near B and C. Okay, again, A and D are nowhere near B and C. And if you look at like the 5.4 only and not the square root, you'd say, oh, that's answer choice A. And then if you're looking at D, you're saying, well, it's kind of close to 6. So I'll say 5.9 may be it. But you have to remember, we're looking for the square root of the number. And that's important, okay? Again, quick test strategy. When you're looking at the answer choices, if it immediately seems like A and D, those may be the answers. They could, however, we have a square root, and the square root is what changes the game, okay? Now, let's look at the values of our square roots. For square root A, 5.4, that's equal to 2.32. And when you put it in your calculator, it's a square root sign. You type in 5.4 and then the equal sign or enter. For B, the square root of 29.5 is equal to 5.43. Again, we are rounding to the nearest hundredths place. For for answer C, it's square root 35.5, and that number is rounded to 5.96. Lastly, D is square root 5.9, and that's equal to 2.43 when rounded to the hundredths place. Now remember what I said in the previous slide. You see how we can automatically cancel out A and D as answer choices because the number 2 isn't even anywhere on the number line, right? Again, that was a trick. It's like a trick answer because it kind of seemed like that could possibly be an answer. But again, the square root makes it no, those are wrong answer choices. Okay? How do we solve the problem? That's easy. We just need to find the value that best represents the point Q. So in looking at our answer choices, what would you say is the correct answer? If you said B, you are correct because B is the square root of 29.5 is equal to 5.43. And again, we said that hash mark represents 5.5 and it's a little bit before the hash mark. So 5.43 is the value that best represents point Q. Let's move to question number 4. 4 plumbers estimated the length of the radius of a cylindrical pipe. The estimates made by the plumbers are listed. Which list shows these lengths from greatest to least? Plumber W estimated that the radius had a length of 3/25 inches. Plumber X estimated that the radius had a length of the square root of 3/11 inches. Plumber Y estimated that the radius had a length of 9/100 inches. And Plumber Z estimated that the radius had a length of pi/24 inches. Our answer choices are F, 9/100, pi/24, 3/25, the square root of 3/11. For G, it's the square root of 3/11, pi/24, 3/25, 9/100. For answer choice H, it's 9/100, 3/25, pi/24, square root of 3/11. And lastly for J, the square root of 3/11, 3/25, pi/24, 9/100. I almost made that into a rap, but I wanted to save your ears. The first question we're going to ask, as usual, what are we looking for? We are looking for the list that shows these lengths from greatest, that means the larger number, to least, the smaller number, okay? So we're looking for the bigger number to the smaller number, the list that shows the bigger number to the smaller number, or from greatest to least. What information can help us find the answer? Well, we need to convert all of these numbers or fractions into a decimal. This would help us easily see the values of the decimals and also be able to place them in the list from greatest to least. Okay, so for 3/25, we put in our calculator 3 divided by 25. The answer is 0.12. For the square root of 3/11, that is equal to 0.16. Remember, we're rounding to the nearest hundredths place. For 9/100, it's 0.09. We put 9 divided by 100 in our calculator. And for pi/24, or pi divided by 24, because remember, fractions, that fraction bar is really saying divide by. Hit the divide sign. It's saying, Shay, please hit the divide sign. When you see that fraction bar, it's saying, please hit the divide by sign, okay? So pi divided by 24 is equal to 0.13. This is the information that will help us find our answer. How do we solve the problem? That's easy peasy. What we need to do is order the lengths from greatest, which remember, which means the larger number, to least, all the way to the smaller number, okay? So let's order our numbers from greatest to least, and we have first 0.16, then 0.13, next is 0.12, and last is 0.09. This is order from greatest to least. Since we have those values, what is our correct answer? If you said G, you are correct. Let's take a look. So for answer choice G, we have the square root of 3 over 11, which we've already said is 0.16, which when it's converted to a decimal. Then pi over 24, which is equal to 0.13. 3 over 25 is equal to 0.12. And lastly, 9 over 100 is equal to 0.09. This list is from greatest to the least number, okay? G is the correct answer. And that is it. Give yourself a pat on the back. You've made it through. Do you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? If so, we are having 8th grade STAAR Math Test Prep boot camps on Saturdays, January 5th from 1:30 to 4:30, January 26th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., April 6th, 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. And on Sunday, March 31st, we will have a 2019 STAAR Math Test Prep boot camp for 8th graders from 1:30 to 4:30. Where? So glad you asked. It will be at the Conference Suites in Arlington, 411 West Road to 6 Flag Street, Arlington, Texas. Thank you so much for watching this video. Talk to you soon.